Hello, I am Saffron Burke and welcome to my channel. This is Frank. He's probably going to be getting a lot of attention throughout this video. I thought I would have a little talk about my current health journey. I am diagnosed with PCOS. I've been diagnosed since 2013. Had it for definitely longer than that. I also suspect that I have endometriosis, and so I thought I would just share my story, so if anyone else is going through the same sort of deal that I'm going through, hey, you're not alone. It sucks, but you're not alone. I'm also going to be working on a craft project while I talk, because I have ADHD and I need something to do with my hands. So I'm currently taking old clothes that are too stained or too holey to resell on assorted internet reselling sites and cutting them into strips, and I will be turning them into a rag rug. And Frank will be very entertained by the whole process. Won't you, little boy? So I will start at the very beginning, because why not? Good enough place to start a story. So I started my period when I was 11, and I have never, except for when I was on a 3 weeks on, 1 week off birth control method, I have never had a regular cycle, ever. It was never predictable, just nothing. And so my first 2 years of my cycle, it was irregular, but it was okay. I had no cramping at all those first 2 years. That was, if only that had continued. And then when I did begin getting cramping, it was like I was making up for lost time. It was pretty nasty. So it was the summer when I was 13. So that would have been 2002. I just started getting the most god-awful cramps. And now, unfortunately, I have dealt with chronic pain from multiple sources, so it's not like I was some stranger to pain and just thought this was bad because I hadn't experienced it before. I had been getting migraines since I was 7, and I'd been dealing with back pain due to far too large breasts for that age since I was, 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there. I don't remember when it started because I don't remember not having it, honestly. So I was, it wasn't that it was just a new pain. It was bad. It was so bad. It's a good thing it happened during the summer, honestly, because my mother, I've heard of people missing school due to their cramps being so bad. My mother was not the type to let me do that. I had to go to school with the flu until I went up and puked in the nurse's office, and she called my mom to tell me to take me home. Like, I had that kind of mother. So, fortunately, this particular nastiness was over the summer where I could just lay in bed all day and wish for death. So it actually started while we were at the grocery store, and we had a friend of my mom's was staying with us at that time, and he started lecturing me about how I shouldn't be sitting on the floor in the grocery store. The only time anyone's ever in enough pain to justify that is when a woman's in labor. Well, I was currently in labor to my endometrial lining, and it was just nasty. I don't remember if it was the same cycle or the next one after that, but one of the periods I had that summer, I spent the entire time laying in bed, drinking Gatorade and ibuprofen. I was in so much pain I was not hungry. So I just laid in bed for 7 days. Only getting up to get more water and change my pad and pee. That was it. And as things continued, it wasn't that painful after that summer, fortunately, but it was horribly irregular. When I was in high school, I went to my mom because it was just so irregular and so unpredictable. I was just frustrated. And I was hoping that maybe she would do what other kids' moms had done and put me on, and would, suggest putting me on birth control to help regulate things. So I went to her and I told her the absolute truth. I would go anywhere from 1 to 3 months with no period, and then when I'd get my period, it would last 3 weeks, sometimes longer. It was atrocious. And she just told me, yeah, that happens. Well, yes, it does, but that means something's wrong. That means you need to go to a doctor. So I just struggled on. Just put up with it until finally when I had moved out, and well, I had a boyfriend I was living with at the time, so of course birth control, kind of a focus. So I got Ortho Evra, which is the patch, because I cannot trust myself to remember to take a daily pill. So I did not want a daily pill method. So, I mean, this was 2009. I don't know if we had, well, we had the IUD, but at that point they were not suggesting it to women who had not had children. And I don't know if they had Nexplanon yet or not. I just remember pretty much, I know there was the shot, but I had already heard nasty things about that, so I was like, I don't want that, but I don't want to take a pill every day. So they're like, well, there's the patch, there's that, and I'm like, okay, I'll take that. And it was okay. It was not the best option. My period on it was regular. It was actually really light too. It got to the point where it was so light I couldn't even use a tampon because I wasn't bleeding enough to justify using a tampon. It would have been taking it out dry at the end of the day, and nobody likes that. So I was on that for a few years. Let's see, I was on that from 2009 to 2012. And throughout that time is when I started having my other fun pain. At that point, my cramps weren't too bad because that was regulated. But, buddy, I started getting, well, I had 2 types of pain that had started popping up. One was my breasts. And at that point they had stopped growing. They had stopped growing for a couple years. And then once I got on the birth control, they started hurting and they started growing again. Excuse me. I thought you were done. You were already too big. Please stop. But no, they just kept growing. And I also started getting just, very sporadic, not regular at all, not really related to my cycle, just stabbing pains in the sides of my pelvis. Definitely, where my ovaries are. And at first it was very occasional. And so I was just like, whenever it was just, once in a blue moon, it's fine. And then it just got more and more frequent over the years till the beginning of 2012, when I was just, or was the end of 2011, somewhere in there, that winter. I was just in so much pain all the time, like keeling over my desk at work in pain. And at this point, my chronic back pain was quite bad, so that was a normal pain that I worked through, so this additional pain on top of that was actually quite considerable, that it was making me incapacitated. And so I got tired of it, and I went to a doctor, because I had, at my last few annual exams, which at this point I was going to Planned Parenthood because I was poor, because that's what you do, and I mentioned it to them and they said, well, you might have PCOS, but we would need to do a transvaginal ultrasound to diagnose that, and they didn't really give me the option to do so. They just said this is what it would take, end of discussion. And they also, you know, pulled that, God damn it. I forgot to turn off an alarm. Apologies for that. They also gave me that horribly frustrating line because I was very young. This was, I think I first mentioned it when I was 21. And so of course they gave me that line that they love to give young women. Well, you're so young, all we can really do is put you on birth control. And since you're already on that, there's nothing else we can do. Awesome. It's great. So, because I was already on birth control and there wasn't anything else they could do, they didn't want to, I don't know, take a look and see how bad it was, because, I mean, good gravy. Now keep in mind, I have never wanted kids. Ever. Still don't. I have cats. I love cats. I tolerate children if I'm related to them. Yes, Frank. Yes. I'm sorry I made you move. Yes, we love attention. So after mentioning that to Planned Parenthood a couple times and getting no traction, it was getting worse, so I scheduled an appointment with a gynecologist at Mercy, which is one of the main hospitals here in Des Moines. And I just, called the gynecology department and scheduled an appointment with the next available person. And the doctor that I saw was very dismissive. She didn't even want to believe me that it was anything gynecological. She said it was probably something intestinal, which, I mean, at this point, I'm lactose intolerant. I have IBS and I had had my gallbladder out already. So, while I do have occasional intestinal discomfort, I can tell the difference. I can tell which one it is. There's a certain way that my ovaries hurting feels and a certain way that my intestines hurting feels, and they're very different. So she didn't even want to do an exam, but because I was demanding that they do something, I finally got an ultrasound. And because this was an OBGYN who sees a lot of pregnant women, they just had the screen up to watch your ultrasound while it's being done. And so I watched it. And at that particular time, each of my ovaries had about 10 to 15 cysts on them. Not huge ones, but that's a lot. And so I went in, like the next week or whatever for the ultrasound, so saw it myself. And I was told that the doctor I had seen, who was, not the ultrasound tech, the doctor I had seen was supposed to call me in a week to give me the results of my test. So I wait a week. I wait a week and a half. I haven't heard anything, so I call in. And she seems very annoyed that I'm calling her. Like, you said you were going to call me and you never did, and I want to know what the results of my tests were, so tell me. She seems very annoyed that I'm bothering her. and tells me that everything looked normal. I'm like, well, maybe I didn't see what I thought I saw. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert whatsoever in the realm of the human body and medicine. So, yeah, maybe that is a normal thing. I don't know. But I fucking hurt, and you're not offering me any solutions. So I just kept on dealing with it. Kept on being in pain. And spring of 2012, I wound up, due to this big ol' insurance debacle, I ended up no longer being on birth control. And so for that summer, for late spring, early summer 2012, I was not on any birth control. And my God, it was awful. My ovarian pain ramped up so much. And I don't think for that summer I had particularly bad periods. I just had heavier than when I'd been on birth control. And then in August, I went and got Nexplanon because I'd heard about that. I knew I had a few friends who had had it, and they really enjoyed it. Especially that whole not having periods while you're on it thing. That really seemed quite nice. Also, the have it put in your arm and forget about it for 3 years is wonderful if you can't remember to take a goddamn pill. So I got that. Did pretty well for let's see. Hey brain, you want to like remember what we're trying to say. So I did all right on it from, I had it in like first weekend of August. And I did all right. I had no periods, no notable increase in any pain for first 6 months, and then I had my first period on it, which was pretty, it was light, but it was long. That was in February. And then everything was going all right again. I was having, the occasional ovarian pain, the occasional breast pain, but they weren't horribly inconveniencing. And then the next August, exactly a year after I'd had it in, I had another period, which was horribly inconvenient because I got it at Renaissance Fair, sorry. And I didn't have anything to deal with it with. And neither did anyone else, because it was a one-weekend fair and nobody had prepared for that. And this was it wasn't exceptionally heavy. It was about medium flow, but it was black. And I figured that was just, old blood that's been in there for a while. Just, it's dark. That happens. It was also, good God, painful. It was so painful. And let's see, after that finally finished up, I was fine for a while. Or no, I wasn't. That was when it started getting the pain started getting really nasty. And I was complaining about how the gynecologist at Mercy had treated me and how, Planned Parenthood wasn't doing jack for me when I was seeing them. And let's see, this was in September. that I was complaining about it to someone else at a different run fair. And she suggested a local gynecologist that's independent. They're not associated with any hospitals. So I went to them. They had me sign a release to get my records from Mercy sent over. And so I talked to my doctor, and after the results were sent over, and she was like, so they diagnosed you with PCOS, right? And I'm like, oh no, they told me everything was normal. And she didn't say anything, but her eyes about bugged out of her head. She was rather shocked that I had been told everything looked normal, because it didn't look normal, because my ovaries were covered with cysts at the time of that ultrasound. Now, since that ultrasound had been Frank, calm down. Since that ultrasound had been a couple years ago at that point, they had me go in for another one. And at this point, the Nexplanon seems to have done a better job at keeping everything under control. Number of cyst-wise, at least. Because I only had one cyst on my left ovary. It was about 2 centimeters. Which was interesting because the right side hurt more, but the left side was where the cyst was. Bodies are strange. And so they had me go in about once a month or so to keep an eye on it. And after like 3 ultrasounds, it was getting smaller each time. So we stopped monitoring it so much. So this was 2013. And I haven't really planned this out, so I'm trying to remember everything. So, you know, pardon me for that. So after that, things are alright-ish. I had this fun new development where every time I had sex, I would get a period afterwards. Not like you got, you know, a little tear bleeding, but like 2 days later, I would then bleed for 3 to 7 days. Pretty much every time. Which was annoying, but I didn't really know what they could do about it. There was one time that I had been bleeding for 10 days, and at that point I called my gynecologist and was like, do something. So I went in, and they put me on estrogen pills for about a week, 2 weeks, something like that, and that, you know, cleared that up. Then 2015, that was still continuing, where it was just, you know, doing that. And summer of 2015 was when I had my second implant put in. And things worked out all right for like a year-ish before I started getting breakthrough bleeding again. I had this fun new development that every once in a while, when I would have an orgasm, it would come along with a really bad cramp. Just one cramp for about 30 seconds, and then I was fine. Then after the first year on that one, so around the middle of 2016, I started having, you know, just random bleeding again. And also at that point, the pain was getting a lot worse. And I was having a lot of vaginal pain issues. At this point, let's see, late 2015 was... So October of 2015 was the point when I got tired of men and stopped having sex. And even just masturbating frequently, I was having a lot of vaginal pain issues. Now keep in mind, as a cam girl, I was using very high quality, safe for the body sex toys and lube. I was, because you know, when your job's your vagina, you want to keep it healthy, you want to keep it in good shape. So I would only use pure silicone or glass dildos, silicone or plastic vibrators. I made sure all of my, anytime I bought lube, it would be glycerin-free, paraben-free, very vagina safe, not going to cause any infections. But I was still just getting pain, which was annoying. I dedicated quite a bit of time to searching and finding a dildo that was actually like average penis size instead of regular dildo size. Because dildos tend to run kind of big compared to the average penis. So I found one that is, I swear by it up and down to everyone who is looking for a dildo. I've suggested it to no fewer than 3 other models, actually. And it's the Tantus Mark, which is a dual density. It's 5.5 inches long, like 1.5 inches-ish in diameter, so it's average penis size, which is nice. It's not too big. And so I got that, and I was fine for a while. And then things just started getting worse, because I would just... even that would cause tearing when I used it. And it's not like there was a shortage of lubrication. It would tear me and it would hurt. And so that was the point when I just, that and a couple other factors basically drove me to stop offering explicit shows altogether on cam. So that was no longer a factor in my pain levels, but things still kept hurting all the time. Oh, and a lovely detail that I kind of forgot to mention along the timeline. So, June of 2013, I had a breast reduction. Damn, things nearly grew back. Before my breast reduction, I was a 38J US, or a double G in UK sizes. And I left the hospital with these cute little bitty D cups. I know a D isn't small to most people, but to my family and to me, that's small. But we got some big titties. And I'm currently... You probably can't tell right now, I'm wearing a granny bra because it's comfortable. But I'm already back up to an H. I'm a little annoyed. H US, so double F UK. Like, I had surgery and then... It's great. Totally didn't have a reduction for nothing. Love it. Anyway, back to 2015. So my frequent pelvic pain was getting worse. Got worse throughout 2016. By 2016 and 2017, it was like a constant daily occurrence. I was just in pain all the time. Doctor won't do anything. And it's been getting worse and worse and worse and worse. 2018, I don't know why it took her so long to fucking say this, but at this, like, middle of 2018, my mom just, like, casually mentioned one day that we have a family history of this shit. Like, I knew my grandma had a hysterectomy in her 30s, but I didn't know why. I just knew she had it. Well, she had it because she had PCOS. And her mom also had one because of having PCOS. And I'm like, well, where the fuck was that information in 2013 and 2012 when I was trying to get doctors to do fucking anything? Anyway, so in 2018, I went in to get my third implant inserted because I just can't handle not being on it. Because I actually ended up getting this one inserted a month after the previous one had expired. Oh dear fucking God. I had what I refer to as my 15-day hell period. Oh no, it had been expired for 2 months at that point. So I had a hell period. It was 15 days long. It was the first time since 2009 I've bled enough to actually use a goddamn tampon. And I was in so much pain the whole time. Like, there was one day I missed work because I went to go get dressed. I walked over to my closet and I had this combined wave of nausea and cramp that made me almost collapse. So I just texted my boss, said, I'm having lady troubles. I can't come to work today. Because, we're not doing that. Real. And the fun thing about the implant is you can kind of feel when it's wearing down too, because you just get PMS-y for a long time. So while it was wearing off, my pain was getting worse. My regular daily ovarian pain of awfulness was just getting worse and worse. And Frank, no, that's not food. It's a plastic leaf. No. No. Then I had the 15-day hell period. It hurt so bad. And it felt like it was never going to end because that's how 15-day long periods feel. Finally ended. And then I got the new implant like a couple weeks after that period. And then I had this wonderful, fun thing. So let's see, hell period was, let me consult my Clue app because where did my phone go? There it is. Let me consult my Clue app to be accurate with this. So, come here. Okay, so, oh yeah, I also had all kinds of wonderfully sporadic bleeding for most of 2018. And then I had, let's see, I bled. Well, when I started using Clue was on June 3rd. And that period ended on the 6th. And I started bleeding again July 16th. That lasted through the 28th. And then the hell period started August 30th and ended September 12th. It was awful. I wanted to stop existing because it hurt so goddamn much. And then, like, first or second week of October, I got my new implant. Things were fine. And then October, no, not October, November. I can't keep my months straight and I'm looking at a calendar. So, let's see, was it? Yeah. Sir, please. Please, sir. So November either 9th or 10th. Frank! No. Dude. No, play with this. Play with that. Leave the lights alone. So no, November either 9th or 10th. I don't remember. At some point that weekend. The 9th was a Friday, the 10th was a Saturday. At some point that weekend I had filmed 2 explicit videos. 2 masturbation videos. Not very long ones, just a couple. Which normally I can film those on occasion. I can normally masturbate on occasion and be okay. Well, this time it wasn't okay. Of course, then on, I think it was the 11th and the 12th, Sunday and Monday, both nights, I masturbated before going to bed because I'm an adult and I can, and I wanted to. And then on the 14th, well, and one of those nights I had one of those, no, orgasms that are combined with a cramp, a really nasty cramp. And then, like, I had a bit of pain on the 13th, and then on the 14th, I started bleeding. And I started having the most god-awful month of bleeding and pain I have ever known in my life. I collapsed at work and had to go home. So, naturally, if you're in that much pain, you contact your doctor. So I made an appointment and went in. Naturally, you go into the gynecologist, they're going to poke around in your innards, do a little pelvic exam. And then they sent me over to the radiology department, to a local radiologist. They don't have their own radiology department. So I went over and had an ultrasound, and the results of that were that I had a 2.5 centimeter cyst on my right ovary. And see, at the point that I had the ultrasound and the results came back and the doctor called me. See, that had been about 2 weeks after the whole debacle started. And the amount of pain I was in throughout this time, I wasn't bleeding very much, but I was in so much pain. It hurt so goddamn bad. I could barely stand. There were moments when I was in so much pain my legs gave out while I was sitting. It was nasty. And so when the doctor called me and said, well, just have 1 cyst and 2.5 centimeters, I was like, okay, but I'm still bleeding and I hurt really bad. Like, do something. So they put me on a birth control pill on top of my implant, which apparently is a common thing that they do if you're experiencing breakthrough bleeding. It helps straighten that out. I didn't like that idea, because honestly, I have wanted my ovaries to just be taken out already since they started hurting on a daily basis, honestly. Like, I don't need them. I'm not going to use them. I can take estrogen pills. You make them. I know you do. But I was just in so much pain. So they put me on the pills. I didn't like it. But I was like, okay, I'll try it. And we'll see what happens. They prescribed me 3 months worth, which, I don't know, whatever. So I take it for a week because that's all that I made taking it before. Well, I'll start at the beginning of the week. So I just started taking it on like a Monday or something. I don't remember. But like within hours, I was so nauseous. Just, oh God, moving was awful. I was so bad. Like, I have nausea with migraines sometimes. That's nothing compared to this nausea that I had. And that, it didn't stop. I thought maybe it'll get a little better once my body acclimates. No, just constant nausea every day, not getting better. Just, like, laying on the living room floor, trying not to breathe too vigorously because it would set it off. Frank, no, 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 no. That is not a toy. This is a toy. Well, this is acceptable as a toy. Huh? Huh? And in addition to the nausea, I was also really suicidal and really emotional. Every fucking thing was making me cry, whatever. Whether it was cute animals, anything remotely sad, just existing. I was just bursting into tears every couple hours over fucking nothing. And also constantly wishing for death. And extremely nauseous. I was just like, I gave it a week. None of that improved. It was just still constantly crying and nauseous and wanting to die. And then I contacted the doctor again and they were like, oh no, stop taking that immediately. Which, one good thing I can say about this doctor's office, because I know people who have had nasty side effects from birth control and been told, oh yeah, it does that. Just keep taking it. It'll get better. No, they told me to stop it immediately. I came into the office again. And at this time I was seeing a nurse practitioner at the office because, well, for all of these visits I had been seeing her because my regular doctor was on call at a hospital and so wasn't available. And so she prescribed, instead we just went with, she took me off the birth control and put me on just a regular estrogen pill. Frank, like, I know it's dangly and kind of sparkly, but can you please not? I know. Look, it's a string. It's a string. It's a string. Kitties love string. It's on the kitty. So she put me on estrogen pills for 10 days. Because the formulation of birth control is just slightly different enough that it's nasty. I don't like it. And on that, I was not nauseous and crying and wanting to die. I was my normal self, which is only wanting to die a little bit. Meow. Also at that visit, I asked, finally, for the first time, because I'd been putting off asking it because, well, you know, that whole you're young thing. Also, Frank, no. I've known many women in my area who, despite having really nasty miscarriages, like bleeding out in the ER miscarriages, have been told, no, you can't have your tubes tied because you're not old enough yet. I also knew one who tried to get her tubes tied at 30 and was still told, no, you don't have any kids, so we can't. Okay, but I keep miscarrying and I can't stay pregnant. No, but you need to have one before we... Doctors in my city are ridiculous. So I was waiting till I was 30 to even bring it up. I'm still not 30. I will be in a couple weeks. But I brought it up. See, at this point it was December. finally brought it up then. And I was told, no, you can't have your ovaries out unless you have cancer. Well, that's some bullshit. Because I know women in other areas who have PCOS, you know, just in different states, have had their ovaries out. I know trans men who have had their ovaries out. I know, you know, obviously you can take them out. You just won't. However, this doctor did, or this nurse practitioner did set me up with a follow-up appointment with my doctor to do a consult about doing laparoscopy, I think it might be a slightly different term, but the exploratory surgery to diagnose endometriosis. Because I'm fairly certain that I have it. However, I've not been diagnosed with it. And the nurse practitioner was all on board with, yeah, we'll see about seeing if we can get you diagnosed with that. And so I was all gung-ho, yay, we get to finally do this. I took the estrogen pills and the bleeding tapered a little bit. It finally stopped, so I started bleeding on November 14th. I had a fake out day on December 18th when I thought it was done, and then it started up again for 3 more days. I was officially done bleeding on December 21st. Still in constant, unusually high amounts of pain. I have been since then. It has not gone back to my normal level of pain yet. And I'm fucking sick of it, honestly. So I go in for the consult with my doctor about endo, and she tells me it's unlikely that I would suddenly develop endometriosis after this being on birth control this long. Pretty sure I've had it all along. I've had it since I was a teenager. It just decided to flare up now because fucking reasons, I don't know. Instead, she tells me that the real cause, according to her, is that using a dildo caused a pelvic floor spasm. Which anyone I've mentioned this to, even doctors, have looked at me like, you fucking kidding me? So she prescribed me Flexeril, which I can't take during the day because it related but not completely related. So most medications make me sleepy. Pain medications, even steroids. Oh yeah. Both of the times I've been on prednisone, oh gosh, I sleep so much on that. In fact, it's hard for me to stay awake at all during the day when I'm taking it. Steroids make me sleepy. Muscle relaxers make me sleepy. Painkillers make me sleepy. Muscle relaxers, whenever they diagnose them, they say this may cause drowsiness. There's no may or drowsy about it. I'm going to take this Flexeril and then I'm going to sleep for 4 hours. I can't fight it. It's going to happen. I have no choice. I'm going to sleep for 4 hours. But so she prescribed me that for, I forget how many days worth. I took it because it would help my back. It wasn't going to help what she thought it was going to help. Best idea? No. Did it work? Sure. For something else. So she told me if it didn't go away on its own, to come back, and then we would do pelvic floor therapy. And she specified that it would be pelvic floor massage. Excuse me? Is this the Victorian era and you're telling me I have hysteria? Because that's what it feels like. Also, I can't take Flexeril to make this better because it's bad. It's the most bad during the day. I can't take Flexeril during the day. Plus, when I was taking Flexeril daily, which I would take it at night because it's pointless for me to take it any other time of day. I would just take it right before bed. And then I would actually sleep. And my back would hurt less. But down there did not hurt less. And so, I've also forgotten to mention the type of pain that I was experiencing this whole month. And which I'm still experiencing months later. So in addition to my normal ovarian pain, which is just, you know, a little stab here, a little stab here, which was, you know, cranked up to 11. I was also having frequent uterine cramping and a fun new development. Well, I've experienced this every once in a blue moon, but it's been like multiple times a day. For that month when I was bleeding and in really bad pain, it was like constant. Now it's just a few times a day, because that's better. It's still happening. So I refer to this pain as vagina knives, because it feels like someone is taking a handful of knives, sticking them up my vagina and ramming them into my cervix. It's great. It's a real party. So that pain in particular, she thought was because I hadn't isolated it to my cervix because it was so bad that it just felt like my whole vagina hurt. When it ramped down a little bit, I can now specifically pinpoint that it's hurting where my cervix is, specifically. But when it was really bad, you know how when a pain is so bad it feels like the surrounding area hurts too? It was doing that. And so because of that particular pain, she thought I had this pelvic floor spasm thing. And if it doesn't get better, we're going to have a doctor stick their hand in your vagina and massage you. Because that's going to help. Oh, the best part of that particular thing was like 5 minutes beforehand. Frank, I'm going to need you to not. Do you want to play with this? You want to play with that? You want to get that? Like 5 minutes before the doctor told me this, the nurse had just asked me the lovely question, oh, I see there's a sexual history or sexual assault history in your chart. Is that in the past or ongoing? You're going to suggest what treatment to me after asking me that? No. Now apparently pelvic floor spasm is a real condition. It's most definitely not what I have. I looked it up and nothing about it sounds remotely like what I've been dealing with. One of the like main things that it mentions is difficulty going to the bathroom because of because all the muscles are seized up. And Frank, no. Most people who have pelvic floor spasm have difficulty going to the bathroom because all of their pelvic floor muscles are seized up and they have trouble relaxing those muscles enough to go. I do not have that problem. Frank, get over here, away from that, so you don't keep bothering it. So I definitely do not have pelvic floor spasm. And even if I did, I wouldn't be doing that treatment. So after complaining about this bullshit, well, I go to a local support group for LGBT women, and when I was at the beginning of this saga, someone had suggested, Frank, going to Iowa City, going to the hospital there, because they are far more progressive with their treatment than anyone in Des Moines is. So, after the doctor here did jack all for me, I finally requested an appointment in Iowa City. I went just this past Wednesday, and night and day difference. I almost cried of happiness in the doctor's office. I ended up doing it again. Just need a moment to collect myself. So, this doctor listened to me. Just took me seriously. Did not try to disregard or suggest anything else, or, you know, actually listened to me. Which, that's a first. Doctors here don't do that. You wanna come lay down? You wanna come lay down? She actually listened to me. And my friend had specifically recommended me that I go to the LGBT clinic, so that's where I went. And they listened to me, they took me seriously, they did not in any way suggest I not get anything taken out. She did, because of the suspicion that I had endometriosis, she actually suggested a hysterectomy as opposed to an oophorectomy, or ovary removal. Which, honestly, you're the doctor, not me. Whatever needs to come out to make the pain stop, take it out. She then referred me, because she's more of a general practitioner, she referred me over to a gynecologist in their system up in Iowa City, who, well, this gynecologist mainly works with trans men. And, like, I might actually get the care that I'm wanting. Finally. Now I'm just waiting on a call to get an appointment set up with that doctor that I'm referred to. And I mean, they're not trying to they're not trying to they're not trying to in any way downplay surgery or try to convince me to not get surgery. They did tell me I might have to, for insurance purposes, try a few other things first, but especially given the way that I reacted to being put on the birth control pill and how badly that hormone affected me. They did put in my chart that further hormone therapy is probably not ideal. So I'm actually finally going to get the help I need. And that is the part of this whole story that makes me cry. Because I'm oh, Frank. Hi, honey. Hi, honey. I honestly wasn't expecting it to be that easy, honestly. To just talk to the doctor and explain myself and say, this is what I want. I mean, yeah, I only have to drive 2.5 hours to see that doctor. But yeah. This little boy is just sitting here purring. He's such a sweetie. He's such a sweetie. Purr, 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 purr. Oh. Whew. So yeah, that's where we are after so many years, so much pain, and so much frustration, and being told there's nothing else we can do. You know, because, you know, a concern that people bring up and doctors bring up when you want your hormone factories taken out is, well, having that done will send you into early menopause. You won't have hormones in your body anymore. I was very forthright with saying I'm perfectly okay with that. I will take hormones. I just want the pain to stop. And they listened to me. They actually listened to me. So, I guess to sum up, if you're experiencing similar things, you're not alone. You're not the only person going through that. It's awful. And if doctors aren't listening to you, keep finding new doctors. It sucks that that's the way our medical system is, that I have to travel half a state to get a doctor to listen to me. I mean, I know someone who, she had a 10-centimeter endometrial growth on one of her ovaries, and no doctor in Des Moines would do anything for her. She had to go to Pennsylvania to get it removed. And she kept getting told that everything was fine. It's like, if there's a 10-centimeter growth on my ovary, that could cause my ovary to torse. That could kill my fallopian tube. Like, you need to take it out. And she had to travel half a country to get it fucking removed. I only have to travel half a state. I should only have to travel half a city, but that's where we are. I mean, this is the state that tried to pass the heartbeat bill. Which, that's a whole other can of worms for another video. But, yeah. You're not alone. You can get the care you need. It might take a lot of traveling. It might take a lot of different doctors. It might take a lot of advocating for yourself. But you can get the care you need. Isn't that right, Frank? Well, now that I've jabbered at you forever and cried at you, thank you so much for watching if you made it to the end. I will be posting more videos where I have a cat in my lap and am working on crafting. So stop back for more of those. They won't all be this heavy. Some of them will actually be telling stories out of a book of bedtime stories. But if you like the talking and the cat and the crafting, definitely come back and visit. And unfortunately I cannot stop my camera yet as I am trapped under a Frank. A very happy purring Frank. Sir, I'm going to need you to move. I need you to move. We've only been filming for a long time. Over an hour. Frank. Frank. Sir, please move. Please move.